And we're live. Hey, welcome to Friday. It is Fundum Friday. If you missed yesterday's show, the streaming wasn't really working, so it only went to YouTube, but you didn't miss much anyway. So, we got some cool stuff for you today. It is heading into the weekend. We've got two full color, one full color printer, which is this one that's up here right now, and then one that has pastel colors that you can swap out that are pretty easy to work with and stuff. Then we've got a sweet little home companion robot for your family that might work better than the other things on the market for a few reasons we'll cover. And there's actually some pretty cool design stuff on the internet about that. And then just a couple of weird things that I thought you'd be interested in. Plus, if you're curious, you can always go to that blog.hackster.io, scroll down until you see the crowdfunding section, and there's a bunch of cool stuff that our correspondents have picked. So, this first one is the Davinci Color Mini Full Color 3D printer. This actually works like an inkjet printer. I mean, sort of. So instead of like feeding paper through and then you like jet the ink down on top of it, right? This prints a layer with a special absorbent PLA and then applies the color afterwards, after the layer is printed. And so, like most, it seems like it just adds it to the outside. I've seen porcelain printers and other ones that just like add, powders and all kinds of weird stuff to the outside of the print so that like you're not wasting color by doing the whole thing. There is actually one that does like dynamically feeds filament and like slices and dices and feeds it in so that you can have like all the way through. But this seems like a simpler approach. Plus, what I'm really curious about is, can you print it blank and then paint it with your own colors? Like, would you be able to just like use your own ink instead of having the thing do it itself? I mean, that wouldn't be that much different from just painting a print that you've already done. However, the color might be a little more resilient if it didn't like chip off or anything. I think that'd be pretty cool. So I'm not sure about that, but the Davinci Mini has certainly a lot of potential. You've got 100 to 400 microns of resolution. You've got 5.1 inch cubed or 13 centimeters cubed print size. Blah blah blah. You can read about the rest of the features yourself. And yeah, pretty cool. So this one runs about $1,600. I think there is a discount if you order it right now. You do have to use their slicer to print to it, but you can use your own preferred CAD modeling software to design your object. Or you can use theirs, which is XYZ Maker. The other interesting thing is that you can, in the future, get a laser engraving head to put on this printer, and you just swap out the extruder for the engraver. However, I don't see that as an option in these current versions that are shipping. I only see the early bird and then the like one that people will use after that. And those will ship in December, supposedly. They've got a little video that shows you how the full color printing works, which is pretty cool. So again, they have the XYZ Maker software, which you can use to design stuff, but you're going to need to use it to print the things. And then also they have another one called XYZ Engraver, which is what you're going to use for the laser engraver. Check that one out. Seems like a cool team. Next up we have the Spark Maker, which is on Kickstarter. I gotta look up what FHD stands for. If anybody happens to know on Facebook, just like hit me up with a comment and answer it for everybody. So this one does not have individual area color printing. Like if you want a color, then your whole print is gonna be that color. But what it can do is do pastel colors, which they call macaron colors, which is super cute. After, the little French cookie things with the little fillings inside, and it just makes me want to eat these little castle prints they've done. Or I guess they'd be rooks. They look like little chess rooks. And this is a resin printer, as opposed to your fused deposition modeling. Well, I guess they're kind of both that, actually. Your little filament printer here. You've got a resin bath that your print is pulled up out of, like this. which I think is cool, but less portable. It is a pretty small size, it looks like. So, you know, if it weren't for that, it'd be pretty, like, useful to take on vacation and stuff. That said, if you want to swap out colors or whatever, then you will have to, you know, clean it out anyway. See how your thing print's kind of upside down or whatever? The other interesting thing about them is that they have a number of different resins for different applications. Not just the Q version of the resin that takes these colors really well, but also one that's designed to be engraved. That's the LCDG resin, LCDH for high temperatures, so you can print a mold for injection molding, which is pretty cool. You wouldn't want to use that for casting. Obviously, you can use regular PLA for lost PLA casting, which is pretty cool. And then one that's designed for models, which seems just kind of generic. You know, you're not going to add any... It's a gray color, which the others don't have. The Q is like half clear, the other two are clear, and then this model one is gray, and it just seems like it doesn't have anything particularly special about it. So you'll notice with the colors, right? This one, they come out sort of super vibrant, almost garish, and kind of shiny and translucent. And in this one, they come out opaque because of that half clear, presumably half white base. You get this sort of pastel effect, which is kind of cool, and it's opaque. Yeah, you can control this from your phone, I think. It's pretty cool. Oh yeah, and then the 4 types of resins. You can check them all out here at the bottom of the page. You can order a number of different packages. The super early bird is, eventually it's going to cost $500, which is not that much, especially for like what it does. And you can even get it for $200 if you're early enough. $250 I think is the current going rate. And then it goes up. The thing is that it's sort of like a razor blade scam. Or printer ink. Actually, an inkjet printer is like the perfect analogy here, because the way that printers get you is the printer is super cheap, right? But the ink is like hella expensive. And I'm sure they're not trying to do that. They're not trying to make money off of you in that way, probably. But if you want like all the colors and resins and stuff, it's going to cost you over twice as much, even with a special. And then you can also get a version that has 5 containers of the half clear color absorbing resin, so that you can use all 5 colors. And you know, so all you can also order those individually, so they're not trying to take all your money. But you know, it'll add up. And of course, as opposed to you know, with both of these, they don't take regular filament that you can order for pretty cheap off of wherever, so you're gonna be kind of tied in. Next up we have Vector by Anki, which is it looks really familiar, and that's because it's basically Cosmo, the children's robot that came out a while ago that had this cool association with Pixar, but for grown-ups. And so it has a built-in voice assistant, which doesn't rely on Google Home or Amazon Alexa or anything. They've rolled their own one, which is kind of cool because, you know, privacy reasons, whatever, you can sort of assess it separately. And also it sort of makes it more of a seamless experience. I will say, I think it has kind of an annoying voice. It kind of reminds me of the one of like Johnny Five, but, and everyone's gonna, oh, so much hate mail. But, if you scroll down, you can see some of the examples of the voice. But, you know, it can self-charge and stuff, which is pretty cool. It's got this cooler, sort of sleeker, dark color palette compared to the Cosmo. There's actually a TechCrunch article that covers more of the difference between the 2 robots, the predecessor Cosmo and the new Vector. So this one costs more, but it also has kind of cooler parts in it. So it's got about twice as many components, apparently. And also it has a camera, which I think a better camera than Cosmo. They can both be apparently awakened by eye contact. But this one is eventually going to be able to do like roaming home security stuff. Of course, it's kind of confined to a tabletop. But other home security and companion robots have kind of had the Dalek limitation where they couldn't go upstairs or whatever, so it's not that different. Plus, maybe you want to keep the little robot confined to its own little space if you want to keep some parts of your house secret or whatever. So you can get, you know, a $200 version with this early access thing, or a $400 version. You've got about 2 weeks to go on this one. Where are we with the other ones? Months to go on Spark Maker. That is about 500% funded. Whew! The Davinci has about 2 months left, and they're about a third of the way there, so that doesn't look bad. And then these guys are like almost to 3 times their goal. So that's pretty cool. I also found an old Fast Company article, because I remembered this Pixar angle, right? So they actually got a Pixar animator to become the Anki character director for Cosmo. And can read about like the kinds of interface decisions that they chose to give it a particular personality that was sort of approachable. Like, for example, not making it look like a human. It had these eyes originally that were more sort of, had like pupils and eyebrows and stuff. They decided that they wanted to make it like a friendly robot instead of a robot that was trying to be a human. And that can definitely be the right way to go, instead of going into the sort of uncanny valley territory, which I imagine is sort of what they were doing with the voice as well. You know, if you have a robot that sounds a lot like a human, like when Google was doing that duplex thing, and you were trying to listen to how the robot maybe sounded slightly different from a human, you don't have to do that with this guy. You're never going to have that like cognitive dissonance because it's obviously a robot. So that's that. If you want more, go to the Now Funding section on Hackster's blog. It's just blog.hackster.io, and you just scroll down. Some of these are on there too. Next up, I wanted to just throw in a couple of sort of grab bag ones, because there's this really weird thing called the Big Clapper robot. And I'm just going to leave this here, because what you need to do is go to the project page on Kickstarter, look for Big Clapper, and play one of the videos and listen to this thing, because it is terrifying. What it is a robot that, it has realistic clapping technology, because it has these soft hands on the top that it claps together. But then it also has a voice in which it says, "It's a Big Clapper!" And it's terrifying. Like, just look at it! It's supposed to be like some kind of a friendly, like fun, celebratory robot. If this thing turned on in the middle of the night, I would be out of there. Like, I mean, eventually it would be out of there, but I would especially just like, I'm gone. And then finally, one that isn't actually strictly electronics is Programmable Tattoos that visually transform to inform you about your body or environment. These are chemical ink tattoos done with chemistry and biology, blah, blah, blah. They change based on what they sense in your environment. So far, like, we've seen some pretty low-level attempts at different types of sensitive tattoos. I think this is a cool advancement if it really works. And I include it because I've given some talks, including on here, about sort of stick-on electronics and electronic temporary tattoos before. And so it's an interesting thing for anyone who is sort of latched onto that. And if the idea of sort of responsive or programmable tattoos appeals to you, you should know that you can build your own ones by following some of my tutorials. I really hope that you improve upon these. People have done similar things with fingernails, and there's a couple of companies that have tried to make electronic temporary tattoos, but you can roll your own with some pretty cheap microcontrollers, conductive thread, and circuit stickers, which work pretty well. There's 3 different iterations of this. This is the programmable one, so it's a little bit more bulky version. The previous version which I called Circuit Skin, just uses a coin cell and then one of the circuit stickers light sensors, so that you can like detect someone's pulse actually by putting your finger over the light sensor and then putting your phone flashlight up to the other side of the finger, so that then, you know, as it shines through, your blood pulses and it changes the amount of light the sensor receives, so you get this visual LED indicator of your pulse, which is pretty cool. And then also the original version is just a coin cell battery on a ring, and then some conductive fabric tape with LED sequins soldered onto it. So all kinds of stuff that you can build, super fun wearables. To recap the Kickstarters, please don't buy the big caliper. I don't want that in my world. We've got Vector from Anki, which is what, $200? Yeah, and they are way over their budget, which is fantastic. I mean, in a good way. Their goal, I should say. Also way over their goal, Spark Maker, the one with the resin bath and the macaron pastel colors and stuff, and you're going to be paying them for resin forever. But it's small and cute and pretty high res. It's higher resolution than the Davinci, but the Davinci does like full color just like all over, which is incredible. And that's on Indiegogo. Be sure to go check those out. If you've got any favorites, I would love to hear about those. Just leave them in the comments or whatever, and we will see you on Monday. Thanks for watching. Ciao.